Chapter 4. Promptly at 5:30 the next afternoon, I crossed the street to Claudia's house and rang the bell. Claudia answered it again, this time wearing a baggy yellow and black checked shirt, black pants, red jazz shoes, and a bracelet that looked like it was made from a telephone cord. Her earrings were dangling, jointed skeletons that jumped around when she moved. I noticed she wasn't wearing any makeup. Mom and Dad wouldn't let me, she said. Well, you got away with the skeletons. Claudia grinned. I didn't put those on until I got to school, she whispered. Mimi's the only grown-up home now, and she doesn't mind if I wear skeletons. Oh, very sneaky. Claudia knows every trick. As we went up the stairs, Claudia said, Stacy's already here. I really hope you like her. She lowered her voice. And Janine's home. I groaned. Sorry. Her door's open too. At that moment, Janine stuck her head out into the hall. Oh, hi, Christy, she said. I thought I heard voices. Claudia told me about the Babysitters Club. That sounds like an outstanding idea. Well, hopefully it will, I began. Janine's face took on her know-it-all look. Christy, hopefully is one of the most commonly misused words in the English language. The word means in a hopeful manner. It is not acceptable to use it to mean it is to be hoped. I didn't have the vaguest idea what she was talking about. Gee, Janine, I gotta go. I cut her off as Claudia went on into her room. Stacy's waiting for us. See you. I really cannot take much of Janine, and I always make a mistake in front of her. I don't know how Claudia manages to live in the same house with her. Just as I reached Claudia's bedroom, the doorbell rang. That's Marianne, I called. I'll let her in, Claude. I ran downstairs, opened the door, warned Marianne about Janine, then ran back upstairs with Marianne at my heels. We ran straight to Claudia's room, careful not to look in at Janine as we ran by her open door. Hi, Claudia said, closing her door behind us. You guys, this is Stacy McGill. Stacy, this is Christy, Thomas, and this is Marianne Spear. Hi, Stacy and I said brightly. Marianne suddenly turned shy. Hi, she said softly, speaking more to a wall than to Stacy. I looked at Stacy. I could see why she and Claudia were friends already. Stacy had on a pink sweatshirt with sequins and a large purple parrot on the front, short, tight-fitting jeans with zippers up the outside of the legs, and pink plastic shoes. She was very pretty, tall and quite thin, with huge blue eyes framed by dark lashes and fluffy blonde hair that looked as if it had been permed recently. I glanced at Marianne. She and I were still in our school clothes, skirts and blouses. I was wearing white knee socks and loafers. Marianne was wearing short white socks and saddle shoes. Marianne's hair was, of course, in braids, and I was wearing a blue hairband. We looked like second graders. Stacy and Claudia looked like models. There was an uncomfortable silence. Well, I cleared my throat. Claudia, did you tell Stacy about the Babysitters Club? Just what we talked about yesterday, she replied. Did you babysit in New York? I asked Stacy. Oh, all the time. We lived in this big building. There were over 200 apartments in it. Wow, said Marianne. And I used to put up signs in the laundry room. People called me all the time. She paused. I can stay out until 10 on Friday and Saturday nights. Another wow from Marianne. I was feeling more and more like a baby. How was it possible to feel so much younger than someone who was the same age as you? I'd really like to be in the club, said Stacy. I don't know too many kids in Stony Brook yet, and it'd be nice to earn some money. My mom and dad buy my clothes, but I have to earn money for other things. You know, tapes and jewelry and stuff. Tapes are cassette tapes on which people used to listen to music. How come you left New York? Asked Marianne. Marianne has a real thing for New York. For glamour and lights and stores. She wants to live in the city after she's grown up. Stacy looked at the floor. She started jiggling her right foot back and forth. Oh, she said lightly, my dad changed his job. Gosh, you have a lot of neat posters, Claudia. Thanks. I made those two myself. Claudia pointed to a picture of a horse galloping through a desert and to another of a girl sitting on a window seat gazing outside. Boy, if I lived in New York, I wouldn't leave for anything, Marianne went on. Tell me what it's like to live there. What was your school like? Well, began Stacy, I went to a private school. Did you have to wear a uniform? Asked Claudia, shuddering. Nope, we could wear regular clothes. How did you get to school? Asked Marianne. On the subway. Wow. Once, Stacy added, seeing how impressed Marianne was, I took the subway all the way from our apartment to Coney Island. I had to change about a zillion times. Wow. Did you ever take a cab by yourself? Sure, lots of times. Wow. At Marianne's last wow, we all began giggling. Well, anyway, I said, to get back to the Babysitters Club, what I think we should do is make 2 lists. One of the rules and one of things to do. Does this mean, Stacy interrupted me, that I'm in the club? I glanced at Marianne, who nodded her head. I already knew what Claudia thought. Yup, I said. Oh, hey, great, Stacy exclaimed, grinning. Claudia gave her the thumbs up sign. Then she pulled a package of peanut M&Ms from under her pillow. We should celebrate, she said, handing the candy around. Marianne and I were starved and each gobbled down a handful, but Stacy just glanced in the package and then passed it back to Claudia. You've only got 5 left, she said. Oh, go ahead, replied Claudia. I've got lots of stuff stashed away. Mom and Dad don't know about it. She said she had bubble gum in her underwear drawer, a chocolate bar behind her encyclopedias, a package of Twinkies in her desk drawer, and some wintergreen lifesavers in her piggy bank. No thanks, said Stacy. I'm, on a diet. You? I cried. You're skinny already. Stacy was the first person my age I knew who was on a diet. How much do you weigh? I demanded. Christy, Claudia exclaimed. That's none of your business. But it's not safe to diet if you don't need to, my mom said. Does your mother know you're dieting? Well, See, I'll bet she doesn't. At that moment, someone knocked on Claudia's door. Marianne, Janine called. Your father phoned on the other line. He says it's time for you to go home. Marianne looked at her watch. 6:10, she cried. Oh no, I'm late. Dad hates it when I'm late. Thanks, Janine. I have to go, you guys. Wait, I said, we didn't finish making our plans. Let's meet tomorrow at recess, suggested Claudia. Really? I said. Really? I said. Recently, Claudia has been spending recess watching the cute boys play basketball. She never wants to play foursquare or tetherball with Marianne and me. Sure, she said. As soon as we're done with lunch, we'll meet outside by the gym door. Somebody remember to bring a pad of paper and a pen. I will, I volunteered. Marianne stood up then and practically flew home. I better go too, said Stacy. Me too, I said. Claudia walked us to the door and we went our separate ways. The Friday lunch at Stony Brook Middle School is always the same. Can you guess? Sloppy Joes, red Jell-O with canned fruit in it, a dinky cup of coleslaw, milk, and a fudgesicle. That doesn't sound bad. I don't know. Oh, wait, coleslaw, I guess that's the vegetable. I truly hate it, except for the fudgesicle. After Marianne and I had forced down as much as possible, we went outside to wait for Claudia and Stacy. We hadn't sat with them in the cafeteria because they were eating at a table full of the most sophisticated 7th grade girls, whom we hardly knew, and some boys. How they could eat with boys was beyond me. The boys are always doing gross things like smushing up peas and ravioli in their milk cartons to see what colors they can make. Claudia seems to think those things are hilarious. So Marianne and I reached the gym door first. We played a fast game of tetherball while we waited. I won. I usually do. I'm good at sports. Hi, you guys, called Claudia about 10 minutes later. She and Stacy were walking across the playground. Hi, we answered. The 4 of us went to a quiet corner of the school building and sat down on some empty packing crates. I've got the paper and pen, I said, and something else. I pulled the list that I had made Tuesday night from my pocket and pointed to section 2, which was labeled advertising. This is what we have to do next. Let people know what we're doing. Right, agreed Claudia, from underneath an outrageous red felt hat, which her teacher wouldn't allow her to wear in the classroom. I think flyers are the easiest way to tell people about our club. We can make up a nice ad and my mom can Xerox it at her office. Then we can stick copies in people's mailboxes. You're actually not legally allowed to do that, friends. So you know. We can do it in our neighborhood and on other streets too. Anywhere that's in bike riding distance. Marianne, your dad would let you sit in another neighborhood if it weren't too far away, wouldn't he? I guess so, Marianne replied uncertainly. I saw Stacy glance curiously at Marianne. Good, I said. Now we already have a name, the Babysitters Club. Do you think we should have some kind of symbol or sign too? Like the symbol that's on Girl Scout cookies or the sun that's on the stationery my mom's company uses? Yeah, said Stacy. That's a good idea. We could put it on top of our flyers. Claudia, you could draw something for us. I don't know, said Claudia. Come on, you're a great artist, I exclaimed. You can draw anything. I know I can draw, but I'm not good at symbols and stuff. Janine's better at those things. Oh, forget Janine, I said. Anyway, we're all going to think of the symbol. We're a club. We have to agree on things. Now, what could we use? Well, said Marianne, it could either be something that has to do with babysitters, like a child or a helping hand, or it could just be something we like, a rainbow or a shooting star or a frog. A frog, I burst out. I began to giggle. So did Claudia and Stacy. Marianne looked embarrassed. Then she began to laugh too. How about a warthog? Suggested Claudia. A nerd, said Stacy. Dog food. We were all laughing so hard we could barely talk. Okay, let's be serious, I said when we had calmed down. Lunch is going to be over in 10 minutes. How about something with our names in it? Suggested Stacy. Yeah, said Marianne and Claudia and I, but then we couldn't think of anything. How about an alphabet block with our initials on it? Said Marianne. That's cute, said Claudia, but there are 4 of us and you can't show more than 3 sides of a block at one time. Oh, yeah, said Marianne slowly. Claudia understands that kind of thing better than we do. Wait a minute, Claudia cried. I've got it. I could draw something like this. She took the pen and paper from me and drew this. Booyah. Sorry. That's terrific! Really terrific, I exclaimed. It's perfect. Claudia, you're a... I stopped. I'd almost said genius, but Claudia's pretty touchy about that word. A pro, I finished. The bell rang then, and we had to go inside. But first we agreed to spend the weekend working on the Babysitters Club. Chapter 5. On Saturday, the 4 members of the Babysitters Club worked very hard. Marianne and Claudia and I called all the families we already babysat for and told them about the club. Then we wrote up a little ad about the club and phoned it into the Stony Brook News. It would appear on Wednesday. We couldn't wait to see it. Then Stacy had an idea. I think we should elect, officers of the club. We were sitting around in Claudia's room as usual. Officers? Claudia repeated, looking confused. She was probably thinking of policemen. Yeah, a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer, I supplied. Perfect. 4 officers, 4 of us. Oh, I get it, said Claudia. Well, I'm nominate Christy for president. The club was her idea. I second it, said Marianne. Me too, said Stacy. It's unanimous. I grinned. Wow, thanks, you guys. Okay, I nominate Claudia for vice president since we're using her room and her phone and phone number. She may get a lot of calls to handle when the rest of us aren't here. I second it, said Marianne. Me too, chimed in Stacy. Unanimous again. Claudia beamed. Marianne cleared her throat and looked around nervously. Stacy, if you don't mind, I'd like to be secretary. I'm good at writing things down. That's perfect, said Stacy, because I'm good with money and numbers. I was hoping I could be treasurer. We didn't even bother to vote on Marianne and Stacy since everything was working out so well. In celebration of the new officers, Claudia took a bag of gummy bears out of her pencil case and passed it around. Before the bag even reached Stacy, she leaped up, clapped her hands over her mouth, and exclaimed, "Oh no! I have to go home, but I'll be right back." Stacy, I said, if you're still on that dumb diet, you can just say so. You don't have to run away. Look, we'll put the gummy bears back. No, it's not that. I just forgot something. It'll only take a minute. Stacy dashed out of Claudia's room. Marianne and Claudia and I looked at each other and shrugged. Stacy returned about 20 minutes later. Her hands were empty. Where is it? I asked her. Where's what? What you forgot. What? Oh, no, I just forgot to do something. But it's all taken care of. I started to ask her another question, but Claudia flashed me a look that said I was being a pest. We worked on our flyer then, and when it was all finished, this is what it looked like. I won't even read it. You can just see everything. The phone numbers, I don't know what that is. Those aren't like we usually do phone numbers now. It's from 1986. I'll give the flyer to my mom, I said. She can Xerox it on Monday and we can pass around the flyers next week. I've got to go home anyway. It's almost dinner time and Mom's going out with Watson tonight. I made a face. Who's Watson? Asked Stacy. Her boyfriend, I replied. My parents are divorced. Oh, said Stacy, looking slightly uncomfortable. Are your parents divorced too? I asked. I realized how little I knew about her. Nope, they've been married for 15 years. Mine have been married for 20 years, said Claudia. My mother died when I was a baby, said Marianne quietly. She had cancer. Again, Stacy looked embarrassed. It's all right. Really, I don't remember her. But sometimes I wish I did. I stood up. Well, I really better go. See you guys tomorrow, I called as I started down the Kishi's stairs. Watson arrived at 6:30. David Michael ran to meet him. He loved Watson. That's because he doesn't remember a dad, so he thinks Watson is better than no father at all. I stayed in my room until Mom yelled up to me, Christy, Watson's here. Why does she always make me come down to see Watson? She knows how I feel about him. Coming, I said, trying to sound put out, as if she had interrupted something important. When I came downstairs, Watson was standing in the kitchen with cartons of Chinese food. Surprise, he said. What? I asked suspiciously. Isn't this nice, Christy? Said Mom brightly. Watson brought over Chinese food so we can all eat together before he and I go out. Watson's always bringing over food. You'd think he owned a restaurant. Who's taking care of your kids? I asked pointedly. I thought it was really stinky that on the weekend his kids came to stay. I thought it was really stinky that on the weekend his kids came to stay. Watson not only had to go to work, but left the kids with a babysitter while he went out with my mother. Yeah, that's not awesome. I found a very nice babysitter, Watson replied pleasantly. She took care of Andrew and Karen this morning while I went to the office, and they liked her very much. Oh, I said. Watson set the white cartons on the table and began opening them while Sam and I got out plates, napkins, and silverware. I made a face at Sam to show him what I thought about the dinner, but Sam said, Thanks, Watson. This is really great. Sam is very polite. Sam and Charlie sort of like Watson, too. Once Sam even babysat for Watson's kids. I, for one, will never, ever babysit for them. I bet they're brats. Yeah, said Charlie. I'm taking Carol out for hamburgers tonight, but I don't mind eating first. Charlie has a stomach like a trash compactor. Mom, I asked, is there any of that leftover chili? Mom glared at me. She didn't answer my question. What's wrong, Christy? Said Watson. I thought you liked Chinese food. It's okay, I guess, but I don't feel like it tonight. Watson looked slightly hurt. When the table was set, we sat down and everyone began helping themselves to mushu pork and chicken with cashews and beef with snow peas and the other things Watson had brought. I was starving and I love Chinese food, especially chicken with cashews, but I wouldn't let Watson know. Since there was no chili, I made myself a peanut butter and strawberry jam sandwich. I slapped it on my plate and then began nibbling it into the shape of a snowman. I was just about to bite off the snowman's head when Watson said, So how are things, Christy? Fine. School okay? Yup. What are you doing that's new or interesting? It's a terrible question. Nothing. Hey, Watson, the math club won its third math meet yesterday, Sam said, coming to the rescue. He hates when I bug Watson. Watson needed a second to collect himself. He doesn't understand me. What, Sam? Oh, your third meet? That's great! And guess what? Exclaimed David Michael. Mom's going to get me a new G.I. Joe, one of the good guys. That sounds pretty exciting, said Watson. I don't know much about G.I. Joe dolls, though. I don't think Andrew plays with them. Oh, he probably does, I said airily, and you just don't know it because you're not around enough. All the boys play with them. I glanced at Mom. I could practically see smoke coming from her ears as she let me know that I was getting into trouble, but I went on anyway. Besides, they're action toys, not dolls. Right, David Michael? David Michael beamed. Right, Christy? And Karen probably has a Rainbow Bright doll. Ever heard of those? At that moment, Mom slammed her fork onto her plate. She stood up so fast she almost tipped her chair over. Christy, apologize to Watson this instant and then go to your room. But, I said politely, I haven't finished my delicious dinner yet. Ooh. Kristen Amanda Thomas, you are asking for it, young lady. I got to my feet. I'm sorry, Watson, I mumbled. I walked out of the kitchen and started up the stairs. When I was halfway up, I yelled over my shoulder, I'm sorry you're such a terrible father! Then I ran to my room and slammed the door. See, the thing is, Watson is actually a very good father. Karen and Andrew and their mother live right here in Stony Brook, and Watson has the kids at his house each time he's supposed to. Plus, he celebrates every other holiday with them and never forgets the ones in between. My dad forgets holidays all the time. But I still don't like Watson horning in on our family. He doesn't belong with us. Mom and Watson left without saying goodbye to me. Duh. I felt really guilty about what I'd done. She's 12. 12. It's fine. Not fine, but this is what 12-year-olds do sometimes. Before I went to sleep, I left a note on Mom's bed. It said, Dear Mom, I'm sorry I was so rude. I guess I haven't learned much about decorum yet. I hope you had fun on your date. I love you, Christy. When I woke up the next morning, I found a note to me from Mom. It said, Dear Christy, I love you too, Mom. Moms and daughters, man. Choppy times, the teens and tweens, preteens. More chapters later.